Hey everyone, I'm Alexander Joseph, and I just wanted to say a quick thank you to 70 times 7 Music for giving me the chance to share a bit of my testimony and my journey of how I've moved closer to God in more recent years. As a child, I believed in God. I believed He is good, watched over me, wants the best for me. I went to church with my parents and my sister, and my faith was fairly simple and pure at that point, so it was all quite straightforward. Um, but it wasn't really until I went to uni where things changed a bit, and I moved away from God a bit and started leading a lifestyle which was probably not so healthy from both a physical and a spiritual point of view. I know I started drinking a lot more, partying a lot more, pushing the boundaries, and not spending time with God, and not going to church really. I still had an underlying belief, but it had been buried quite deep at that point. And I did have a constant sort of reminder, a little voice, and a sense of guilt that what I was doing wasn't right, wasn't good for me, and I knew I needed to stop and turn things around. And it wasn't really until I returned home after sort of quite a challenging period of time, when I was living in Bath. I went back to my parents' home church, where I had, I can only describe as a life-changing encounter with the Holy Spirit, which changed the course and the direction of my life quite significantly. I went up for prayer at the end of the service for just some healing and for some peace and for some clarity on where I was at in life and where I was going. And the experience I had, I'll never forget. I work in sport and physical training, so for anything physical to happen to me that doesn't seem easy to explain, is a wake-up call and an eye-opener. So when I started sort of shaking through my legs and arms and hyperventilating during this prayer, I just felt a little bit like, what's going on here? I couldn't quite explain it, and it just felt more and more powerful as it was stirring me more. And at the end of the prayer, I collapsed on the floor and burst into tears, and I just had an overwhelming sense of peace, which I don't think words can really describe, but it felt incredible. Like, it's okay, I'm with you. I've got you through this period of time, and come back. Um, so yeah, I left. For the rest of the day, I felt absolutely incredible. I returned back to Bath, to my flat where I was living with my girlfriend at the time, and spoke of all the things that had happened to me and my renewed sense of passion for God and my relationship with Him. And ultimately, it didn't necessarily lead to it, but the relationship ended, which was sad and difficult. And yeah, whilst it was a painful time, I knew it was the right thing to do, and I felt just a real sense of purpose and peace about my decision, even though I know it can cause hurt and pain. So yeah, that very same night after the relationship ended, sorry, there was a few things that happened which were pretty significant. As soon as I sat down in a place where I was upset, I turned on the TV, and the channel was coincidentally on the film Passion of Christ. So literally, I watched the whole of that film, and that was really stirring and moving. When I went to bed, I had a very, very vivid dream, and almost there was a voice that was repeating the words Saint David throughout the night. And I woke up and I thought there was someone in the room with me, but I realised it was him. I didn't necessarily know what it meant, but I knew it was him. And when I turned to the daily reading, which I had that morning, it was all about committing into God and to pursuing His plans for your life, and using the talents and gifts He's given you. And that led to me writing my first song that very morning, called Fool, which was the chorus lyrics were, "The talent that you have to give is waiting to be positive, you fool. your mission is to plant the seed of happy times and signs of peace, you fool. And I realised, looking into a definition of fool, in one sense, it's ungodly. And I also wanted to pursue what this Saint David communication meant. So yeah, I mean, I looked into it further, realised it was the line of Jesus, but it also took me on a bit of a pilgrimage or a journey, really, with my sister to St David's over in Pembrokeshire, Wales, where some really incredible things happened, and just reconfirming my decision to commit to God. And so when I was driving over there, as we went over the bridge to get into Wales, my legs started shaking again, similar to how I felt when I was back at church receiving prayer. It was unexplainable, but there was a real sense of something happening. When we got there, the whole weekend, we camped. The whole weekend was full of sun and rain and rainbows everywhere, which just signified that kind of new beginning, that hope. We went into the cathedral in St David's, and I went over to the prayer section where there were some candles and there was an empty book for requests for people to write. And there was only one message actually that was in there, and I looked at it and it said, "Dear Alexander, I'm so proud of your decision. Keep pursuing your faith. Love, Grandma." And whatever you may read into that, ultimately my grandma had passed away not that long ago before then, and it just that just touched me, and that made me think that someone's definitely watching over me. We also, as we strolled through the cathedral, opened a Bible on 2 separate days, and that Bible happened to flip open on exactly the same page both days, which was the passage around becoming a fisher of men. And also, it's probably worth mentioning that on the way home, my legs shook again, and I felt really stirred. And when I got back, the hamstring injury, the pulled hamstring that I had, the pain seemed to have disappeared. And when I went to see the physios that next Monday morning, they couldn't quite explain as to how it miraculously got so much better. So there was something there again, which was pretty incredible. It also led to me wanting to get baptised, so I returned back home to my family church. I was baptised, which was a really powerful and incredible occasion. I just wanted to confirm, that I am committed to God and I'm not going to move away from Him, even though since committing, it's not necessarily been an easy road. There's been all sorts of different challenges, which it says in the Bible. It doesn't mean you're going to get a life which is all bells and whistles and happy at all times. We're here, aren't we? And we all go through challenging and difficult times. So there have been those. But ultimately, it has still led to some pretty amazing things. After getting married to my childhood sweetheart, I had a year away from work. I quit my job, and during that time, I signed to a Christian record label called Dream Music Group Australia. I wrote an album called The Light, read the Bible from cover to cover, and had an incredible year of just moving closer to God, and just confirming that I wanted to pursue music and whatever He had in store. And He also opened amazing doors in work. It took me down the road of working in Paralympic sport, which I'm still in now. I spent time with wheelchair basketball. I did have a spell with working with elite badminton, and then moved across to wheelchair tennis and wheelchair rugby. So whilst I quit my job and had a lifestyle in the past which was going a certain direction, since committing to God, other doors have opened which have been quite incredible and life-changing. And it's also led to me writing music more and more and more. When I had committed to God and I was in this new stage of my life, I remember listening to a song called Ecclesiastes, where at the end it just repeated, "Now's the time for singing. Now's the time for singing." And I couldn't quite get my head around that. I knew I wanted to write music, but I didn't feel my voice was particularly strong at the time. And funnily enough, it just so happened I was living directly above a vocal coach. So he helped me through a good year or two of learning some vocal exercises as well as Italian opera. So that made a big difference to how I was singing, and continues to inspire me, and how God opens doors and sends you down the path that He knows is best. So yeah, since then I've written various other songs related to sport, to Paralympic sport, and I've got some other ones coming out this year which just go into more depth about my faith and about my journey. So yeah, I hope this story is encouraging in some way. All I know is that yes, it's not necessarily easy, but it just feels so right. I feel so looked after. Whenever I come up against anything which appears to be challenging, I know I have strength to come through, and I know that God's plan and His timing is always best. So yeah, just thanks for listening, and God bless.